Well, King Oil was a game that I've been looking for about a year and a half, and I got a notification from Craigslist in my email saying that somebody was looking to sell it. Called the lady up, and I think she was surprised because she probably had posted the ad maybe 5 minutes before I had actually called. So I went over there and I went ahead and got the game, and she told me that she ended up getting this game from somebody who got the game at an estate sale. Just goes to show you how hard it is to find certain rare games like King Oil. Well, this is one of those games that sometimes thrift stores get a whole bunch of them because the store's trying to get rid of them. This store wanted 15 bucks. I'm like, I ain't paying no $15, man. Well, it just so happened about a week later, there was a sign on the store saying that they were going to be closing and relocating, and they had a sign that said 25% off. And a week later, they were still trying to close down and had a sign that said 50% off. So I said, I think I'm going to wait a couple days, see what happens. Well, sure enough, they put up a sign that said 75% off. So I went into the store and they had one copy of the game left. And I went ahead and I got it for like $3. Well, I was on my way to meet up with one of my bandmates for a gig, and I stopped by a thrift store on the way, and the first thing I saw was Acquire, the big box edition from Avalon Hill. I went ahead and I grabbed it right away. I didn't realize how much the game was worth until later. My wife and I happen to like that game, and I just grabbed it because, hey, it looked like an updated version, but it turns out that that game is the most expensive game that I've managed to find at a thrift store thus far. This is one of those deals when I was just really lucky. I was actually on my way home again, and there was a Goodwill, and I was in another town, and I pulled in the parking lot, but I didn't realize that they closed at 6. It was 5:58, so I walked into the door just as they were about to lock it, and I went into the game section. They happened to have a copy of Bermuda Triangle. The game was in good shape. I didn't have a chance to count the pieces or anything, so I took a chance. So anyway, I went back to my car and I counted them, and everything was there, and the game was in great shape. And we still have it to this day. Good game. Well, one day I was thrifting and I happened to find this little game called Crazy Like a Fox. And this is from Front Porch Classics, and they typically make some pretty good games. So I was like, yes, good game. Well, then I go ahead and I play it with my wife, and the game is lame. And I was a little bit disappointed about it. Well, then I found out that the dice in the game are actually worth about $10. So thank you, Double Z, for letting me know. So I went again. We actually happened to have a copy of this game. We realized it was worth about $15. My wife and I came across it at a thrift store, and they wanted $10 for it. I'm like, $10 for a thrift store? Well, anyway, I decided I'd go to the front and see if maybe I could talk the manager down the price or whatever. And so anyway, he took the game and said, well, you don't usually do that. And then he looked at it and he said, wait just 1 second. And then he looked at me and he said, how would you like it for 69 cents? I'm like, It turned out that the game was on sale. They were having a special sale that day, and that game was tagged to be 69 cents. So we got it for 69 cents, and we resold it for about 15 bucks. Well, if it's one thing the Othello game has taught me is that I sometimes get a little bit impatient. This was about 2 months before Christmas, and people were asking me what I wanted, and I said, well, I'd really like to have the Othello game. I have been looking for that game at thrift stores, and I have not ever found one. Well, maybe about a week after I had put that game on the Christmas list, I found an Othello game at the thrift store, so I went ahead and got it because I'm impulsive. I so anyway, I basically played the game for the month and a half or so until I got the game from my mother-in-law, and I thanked her for it. It was a really nice version, but I had to go ahead and sell the copy that I had bought at the thrift store. Typically, if you go to a thrift store, you're going to see a Cena game of some kind. They're an endless supply of these things, and they're not worth that much, so I don't usually look at them. Well, one day my wife and I were going shopping at a thrift store, and there was a copy of Harry Potter, the Complete Cinematic Journey Edition, or something like that. And I never heard of it, but I kind of passed it by. My wife looked it up, and it was worth about $60, $70. So I'm like, So I went ahead and we went ahead and purchased the game. And we'd actually looked inside the game to make sure the pieces were there. But when we got home, we realized that the board was missing. There was no board. So I'm like, and I realized that the disc was still in there. And I thought to myself, there's probably people out there that probably could use the disc since, this is a hard game to find. That night, my wife and I put the disc up for about $30, and by the time I woke up, it sold. So I'm like, again. Well, if I remember correctly, my wife was at a garage sale. She found this game and she told me about it. I'm like, yes, because I knew the game was worth about $50 to $60 on eBay. And she ended up getting it for maybe $3. And I'm like, yes, yes. And then she told me, we're going to go ahead and give this to our niece for her birthday. I'm like, I mean, at the same time, I'm like, well, I'm sure she'll like it. But I'm like, well, not even 2 weeks later, I ended up finding this game again at a thrift store, and I paid $3 again for it, and I was so happy, and I went ahead and I put it up on eBay, and I sold the game, and this was maybe 2 weeks before Christmas. Well, it turned out the game was missing a part that I had overlooked, and the person wrote me back, and so what I had to do was I had to take a part from the game that was going to go to my niece, and then put it in that box, and I sent it to him, and he got it right before he needed it, and then I had to order the part for my niece and put it in the box. So she ended up getting it on her birthday in March. So, yeah. Ah, yes, Football Fever, the game that started it all. My wife and I like to collect card games and things like that, but we were on a budget, so we didn't like buy games every day. We were dating at the time, and I told her, you know what, you ain't got to worry about it. Eventually, we're going to run out of card games to buy, and then that's going to leave board games. But we're not going to get no board games because board games are like $30 to $40, man. Well, that is until we walked into a Goodwill one day, and we realized that the games there, I didn't even know they carried games, were like $3 to $4. And there happened to be a game there called Football Fever, and I kind of looked at it, and I didn't really think much of it. And then I came back home, and I just happened to look this game up online. It was worth some money, so I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. Problem was the store was closed, and it wasn't going to be opening up until the morning. And I'm not a morning person at all. But that night I could not sleep. I was like, oh, I gotta get the game. I gotta get the game. I gotta get the game. So by tossing and turning, my poor wife is going nuts. I went ahead and I woke up. I got there like 10 minutes before. And then I walked in and the game was still there, and I went ahead and I got it. And actually, one of the employees was looking at it. He said, man, I wish it didn't work here. My plan was to sell it, but we ended up keeping it. So anyway, that is the game that started it all. And since then, we've probably collected about 350 games. So folks, that is my top 10 board game finds of all time. Hope you enjoy the video. Please feel free to subscribe if you've enjoyed this video. Hope to see you soon. Take care and God bless.